Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss Podcast and the Real Boss series. I'm your host, Ann Ganguza, and I'm here with the one and only Mr. Tom Dheere.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, Tom. Oh, goodness, Tom, it has been, we're a few months into 2025, and it's been quite a year so far, wouldn't you say?
I would say, yes, it has.
Lots of disruption going on in the world, and in so many ways, I would say economically, socially. I mean, it's a new administration, and I know that we spoke earlier about setting your goals and starting off on the right foot, for 2025, and finding out who you are. Now that we're a few months in, I think we should go back and readdress what's happening, what's going on, how are you feeling about the state of things. Let's maybe open it up with the state of our industry, the voiceover industry. How are you feeling the state of voiceover is a few months into 2025?
What's interesting about it, Anne, is that, your emotional state when you are watching the news or doom scrolling on social media is going to make you feel a certain way about how everything is going. And depending on your political inclination, you may think everything is going wonderfully, and you may think everything is going terribly. But then there's that pesky little thing called reality, which is the reality of how many auditions am I getting? How often am I booking? How much money am I making? Where are those voiceover bookings coming from? And based on what's going on in the world, how much of that is directly or indirectly affecting our individual voiceover businesses?
Absolutely. And because we're service-based, right?
Right.
It affects us very much, right? It affects us because companies are hiring us to, for the most part, entertain or sell.
Right.
And depending on how the companies are feeling, and companies are reacting to the issues that are going on in the world today, may have a direct impact on our business.
Yeah, so just as a point of reference, let's look at 2024. One of the major things that happened that had a huge impact on voiceover work, it was the presidential election. Because there was distressingly late in 2024, we weren't sure who was running for president on either side of the aisle, much less who their running mates were. That had a massive effect on corporations when it came to advertising budgets and what the content of the advertising would be. So last summer, 2024, July, August, there was a huge dip in voiceover work across the board because companies didn't know where to put their money.
Except in political, maybe.
Except in political. And then when September, October hit, the political campaigns all went crazy, and a lot of the advertising got stopped up because so much ad space was being taken up by political advertising. Right. There was a noticeable drop in commercials for television and radio because all the political ad buys were taking up all the real estate. So that is one pretty clear, direct example about how what's going on in the real world affected what was going on in the voiceover industry. So let's look at spring of 2025 of what's going on right now is, since there's virtually no political ads, as in campaign ads. I mean, there's a smattering of them here and there and a smattering of issue ads, but I didn't notice any more than there usually has been, which means the void has been, that the political ads left got immediately taken up by commercials. So there seems to be as much work as there was at any given time in recent voiceover history.
I agree with you there.
But the question is, what is the content and context of the ads and other voiceover genres, and what are the casting demands, and what are the performance demands for that?
Now, also, we're speaking about we're thinking, I think, right now, commercial broadcast style
Generally, yeah.
voiceover. When we think about that, I agree with you that yes, there's as much work I think as there ever has been. However, it's the content that might be changing and the context. You're absolutely right, but also there might be in terms of industrial like content, like the industries that are advertising, the industries that are hiring voice talent that may or may not be broadcast. Maybe we're talking e-learning, we're talking corporate, we're talking, all the different non-broadcast style voiceover. I think in that realm where I'm not seeing a drop necessarily, but I'm seeing companies looking very carefully at what they're saying and what they want their brand message to be.
Yes.
And that is very key when it comes for somebody like myself, if I produce demos, to make sure that the content is reflective of the culture and the society, of the times.
Yes, culture definitely has an influence on advertising, broadcast, and it also has an influence on internal content, e-learning content, corporate, industrial content. Actually, I just realized last year I had narrated an app for a large governmental organization, let's just say, and it was about harassment in the workplace. And it was a big project, and I did it all, and the client was thrilled, and I got paid, and everything was great. Just a few days ago, the client wrote me and said, hey, as a result of all of these executive orders that have been stripping away DEI policies and verbiage, I had to record a
new
decent
things.
chunk of it all over again with the new policies and whatever we'll call it, awareness of it in mind. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing that I am seeing is that, and again, we're not here to be political. However, we, the two of us need to take a realistic look as to, okay, so what are companies having to do to maybe adhere to policies because companies that maybe depended on support from the government may have to rewrite some policies. They may have to rethink how they're speaking. And that directly impacts a lot of the corporate work that I've done. And it also, corporate training as well. In terms of e-learning, that was the majority of where I do the majority of my work in the e-learning aspect is through corporate. I do some educational, which I think is not that also can be touched, but not in such a direct manner, like let's say DEI or topics. I'm just trying to think like what other types of topics and support and safety and environmental. Let's think about environmental changes, right? There were before in a lot of corporate, there was a lot of talk about sustainability, talk about climate change. Companies wanted their audiences to hear that they were supporting these things because that's what mattered to the majority of people, that they wanted to be on board with them. Now, is that a thing? When we're talking about alternative energy, right? Alternate energy. Are we going to now be talking about drilling and fracking? I mean, versus, solar power or those types of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And top-down policies are going to have a trickle-down effect, but also as in if federal laws are changing or being enacted or being repealed, that's going to have a big effect on a lot of the policies of the companies because they have to be compliant with local, state, and federal law to be able to run their business legally and effectively. So, yeah, it will definitely have a top-down effect. The other thing is economic. Because
we always have to look at the economic side.
You always have to look at the economics of it, and we're still seeing what the full effect of all of these tariffs are going to be on multiple countries,
Absolutely,
which is going to the majority of economics say, regardless of your political bent, that this is going to create an increase in prices of many, many items, or some items just may not be available in the United States to be imported. And there's some, based on reciprocal tariffs, there may be items that the United States manufactures that cannot be exported.
Well, absolutely. And in terms of hiring.
And in terms of hiring.
In terms of hiring, I do know that I heard from one of my students, Canadian students, that is it favorable now to be an American voicing a Canadian brand at this point?
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa. And so we have to think about that, or any global brand. So it's interesting. It's interesting to really see. I think a lot of us are so in our studio bubbles that we forget how this impacts the industry, and it impacts our jobs. It can directly affect our jobs. And so it's kind of it's something that we need to keep our eyes open to. And even though I know a lot of people are like, I'm off social media, or it's just sometimes it's difficult for people to watch the news. I do think that we have to keep ourselves in touch enough to understand where the trends are going and what things are happening if we want to keep our businesses afloat. And now, I guess the next question, Tom, is are we doom scrolling our voiceover industry at this point? I mean, how do you feel about it?
There's a lot of hysteria and confusion and frustration and fear and anger on every social media platform that I have seen. Some of it is a healthy discourse. Some of it is fear and hate mongering. Some of it is a cry for desperation and comfort and commiseration. It's a combination of all of those things. So the question is, do you shut off all of your social media and go take a walk? Sometimes that's a very, very good idea. But just exactly to your point, Anne, we need to keep an eye on what's going on. Also, all of these social media groups that we're on, they're national or international, so we can keep an eye on what's going on in other parts of the country and other parts of the industry and how it may or may not affect us. Like, for example, I just saw recently a social media post. Somebody was talking about, well, what happens if there's a recession? How is that going to affect the voiceover industry? Now, I don't know if you remember, but 2008, 2009, the Great Recession.
Oh, I do.
I did not remember, and I went back and I looked at my numbers. I didn't notice any noticeable effect on it.
Yeah, myself either.
When COVID hit, March of 2020, there was a noticeable dip, but then April, it went right back up, and 2020 was a pretty good year for me. So, but paying attention to things like that, and, instead of being in your own little bubble about being terrified about everything, but when you're actually doing your own research off of social media and looking for intelligent discourse on social media to find actual facts, and, listening to people who've been around the block a few times, like you or I, who is like, no, the recession was, not a big deal. And, COVID things bounced back really quickly. And like I said, last year's, the strikes, the SAG-AFTRA strikes, the interactive strike, which is still ongoing, unfortunately, but, hopefully they'll be able to fight for their rights and, protect all of us when it comes to AI and other bad practices. The voiceover industry seems to be relatively pliant and relatively resilient.
Yes.
Because no matter what, people are still trying to sell things. People are still trying to buy things.
I love that you said
that. People still need to teach things.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
People still have, companies still, we are a company ourselves, right? We want to stay afloat. We're right now looking at, and if you aren't, you need to be, right? Always, you need to be looking at, how are you going to stay afloat? How is your business going to continue to show progress, move forward, be successful? And it just basically comes down to, we're evolving with the times, right? And I think that I agree with you wholeheartedly that I don't think there's going to be any less of a demand for voiceover, because, as you mentioned, companies still want to exist. They still want to sell a product, and so part of that sell is including a voice to speak the brand and to communicate that sell to others. And so I don't think it's doom scrolling, but I do believe that we need to educate ourselves on what the trends are, and not just the trends on the style of voiceover. Although, I think that it's good to understand, like, what's out there. How is that message being told? I always maintain that the best performance trend, the best voiceover performance trend to follow is just be an actor. Be a damn actor. Right? Because if you're an actor, you evolve. You can evolve and change just like you need to do with your business. And I think that you kind of touched on, synthetic voices and AI. Again, if we were to talk about how do you feel that that's affecting the industry these days, I can tell you, in my opinion right now, I think that things are working themselves out, hopefully, on a more positive note. And I don't think that the fascination is there for me. I'm not seeing the fascination there with, voiceover jobs being stolen by AI. I believe that more of the focus needs to be on let's just protect our voices so that they're not being used without our permission and being developed into a synthetic voice. Or if we have a synthetic voice, make sure that we're getting compensated for it. What are your thoughts?
I generally agree because everyone who decided that AI is the devil and decided not to get involved in any level of critical thinking or investigating about it, they have not changed their minds. The people that dived in with both feet are probably or jumped in with both feet are probably still jumping in with both feet. What I think, to your point, you're saying is that everybody that wanted to give it a sniff, that wanted to try it out, test the water, has done it not just once, but maybe twice, because ChatGPT rolled out November 2022. And now we're in mid-2025. So I think there's been at least from my observation, there's been 2 rounds of companies giving AI a try. The first one was just let's see what this is all about. And then some were like, oh, this is great, this is perfect. Others are like, no, this is awful. And then there's others who a year or so later is like, you know what? It's probably gotten 2 years better. Let's give it another try. And then same thing happened. Some thought, oh, okay, it's good enough now, or it's not good enough now, or making whatever decision. But yeah, the fervor from the consumer end, I think, has settled.
I think so
and
too.
I think the terror from the voiceover end, I think for the most part is settled. There's still questions.
Sure, and we've got great
it.
organizations fighting for us as well. Nava's been doing a phenomenal job in that regard. And honestly, I do believe that, and if you're a business and you're not using AI in some capacity to manage your data, you're missing out. You're missing out on the boat. And we did talk about that previously in an episode, Tom, you and I. It's just getting better at that, but it's not necessarily getting better at speaking your voice synthetically. But data management, and I think it's just leaps and bounds. And it's integrated in a lot of the products we're using, and you may not even know it. It's kind of like, I think I mentioned this to you before. Back in the day, I installed voice-over IP phone systems when they first came out. And people just said, oh my God, they sucked. They'll never work. They'll never last. And, ultimately, that's what we do today. I mean, it's all voice-over IP. We're all, everything that we're doing is we're communicating. Our phone lines are over, data, internet lines. And it's just, that's what's happening now. We have voice-over IP, and we don't even know it. It's seamless. So I believe that the AI data management is being built in seamlessly into things that we use, like Google, or I think you're using Google Workspace.
I am using Google Workspace and Google Gemini is my favorite
Google
AI.
Gemini. I have ChatGPT. I have a couple other products that do some automated things for me that are under the ChatGPT, and I continually look for tools that can help me to run my business more efficiently. So I don't think that in the voice realm of things. Oh my God! I said a word. I said a company.
Naughty.
Didn't even know. In the voiceover world, I don't know if synthetic voices are quite the terror and the scare that they were in the last couple of years.
I still think the same thing is exactly what you and Andy said on that wonderful narrator.life interview that you did, which you said garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
Good actors are going to make good AIs. Bad actors are going to make bad AI. And the relevance gap, I still think, is growing of people that do not have, that are lacking in talent or training, storytelling training, that are trying to enter the world of voiceover, are just not going to be able to get in. So I think that still stands.
And everybody I talk to, we're talking about like anything today. If you want to capture someone's attention, right? Marketing wise, right? It's all about authenticity. It's all about to give the human aspect to you. Even when I write a newsletter, it's like give somebody, that vulnerable part of yourself that talks directly to them and doesn't just try to sell them or doesn't just try to like promote things, and give that authenticity. And I really believe that as humans, that's who we are and that's what we have, and that is just our strength. And when we are performing voiceover and we are voice actors, I think the more that we can be authentic in whatever genre we are voicing, the better off we are and the more successful we will be.
I agree. I had another thought about something that we were talking about a little earlier, is that unemployment seems to be rising. Because of all of these federal layoffs, and then as a result of tariffs, if prices are going up, they have to maintain profit margins. So sometimes they need to cut labor. So what's been interesting in voiceover is that as a result of AI, there has been less of the entry level, lowest budget voiceover work, which means there's less opportunities for people who are entering the voiceover industry, and that may mean some people are not able to have a sustainable voiceover business model, so they're leaving the voiceover industry. However, if employment does keep going up the way that it does that mean more people are going to come back who want to give voiceover a shot?
Yeah, exactly. That's and when that was my experience when COVID happened, and people were having my coaching business. I mean, I had like tripled business with people who were using the time to learn voiceover and to get into voiceover and to utilize their voice for good, for something good. I mean, I think that's still like the desire of most people that get into this industry, is they want to use their voice to do something good, and of course make some money. That's always a key element to be successful in voiceover business. But I mean, what other aspects, Tom, have we not covered here in this few months now that we're in 2025? We've talked about, I mean, really how dependent our industry is on the economy and the message that is out there, the brand that is out there.
Right. Yeah, it's dependent and it's independent at the same time. But the question is, what can we as voice actors proactively do when we are getting into what seems to be a very interesting year on a sociological, social, cultural, political, economic level? What can we as voice actors do? So what should us bosses do? Same thing. It's the same answer all the time, man.
Right. What do we do?
Keep training, keep learning, keep growing.
Keep marketing.
Keep following industry trends. Continue to have conversations with fellow voice actors. Continue to have conversations with your current and potential clients. Pay attention to what's going on social media, but don't get sucked in by it. But pay attention, learn, grow,
and
adapt,
educate.
Evolve.
And
educate.
Yeah,
educate
I love
yourself
that.
And educate each other.
Educate, adapt, evolve. I love that. Educate, adapt, evolve. I think that really should be our mantra for this year. Educate, adapt, evolve. And I think everything will be absolutely fine in this voiceover industry. And also, just one thing that I want to make mention is that during those lean times where you may not be finding work or work slows down, it's always important to kind of go back and listen to other voiceover podcast episodes that I've had with Tom, of course, about your business and how to build your business and be successful, as well as I've had a money series with Danielle Famble, which talks about the fact that if times are lean for me, or I'm considering investing more in my business, which would mean maybe I'm going to get coaching, maybe I'm going to get a new demo, maybe I'm going to, get a new website, which, by the way, I've done all those things. And I've had to make a lot of investments this year. And so it's important to have the mindset, right? The mindset of being willing to invest. I think that's important. Being willing to invest in this career. If you love this career and this is what you want to do and you want to grow, having the mindset of being willing to invest. And I, right now, in my own business, I've transitioned over to a new website. I'm doing a lot of new things that are on the scary side of things for me. I mean, I think if you're not scared every day, you're not taking a risk every day. And this, by the way, this risk is not just a risk performance-wise or strategy-wise. It is a risk financially-wise because I'm investing in a part of my business that I want to grow. And so it's not easy and it's scary, but it's something that I believe every boss needs to really take a look at and be willing to take a little bit of a risk. And I'm thankful that, and Tom, we've talked about this, I'm thankful that I have a little bit of a nest egg that I can make these investments.
Yeah. So my new mantra will now be, if you're not taking risks, you're not trying.
Ooh.
And if you're
I
not
like that.
scared, you're not trying hard enough.
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah. You got to be scared. Tom, so I admit that I'm scared. Are you scared? Are you scared every day?
Am I conscious? Yes, of course
Yes,
I'm scared.
Yeah. What things scare you on a? I'm just curious. What things scare you in running your business?
Well, I mean, just, just as a basic, normal, semi-normal, neurotic human,
Yes,
I still have my
hear you.
imposter. I still have my imposter syndrome.
I hear
still
you.
have my FOMO. I'm still
Yeah.
afraid that 30 years later that, clients are just going to be like, well, we don't just like his face anymore. And they're just not going to, book me. And they come back. They all come back, as in, most of them come back for all good reasons, and other
Yeah.
people don't come back for whatever other reason. 99% of the time has absolutely nothing to do with me. But my biggest fear is the fear of being irrelevant. And I've had a couple of times in my voiceover career where I, as a result of very poor business decision making, I made myself less relevant. The jumping off of
Interesting.
Voice 123 in 2013 and then being off it for 7 years made me less relevant as a voice actor, because I wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the industry. I was up my own,
Sure.
Right.
Right.
about it, and making decisions based on fear, ego, insecurity, and arrogance and ignorance.
Oh my God! I just love that you were so authentic with that. That's really wonderful. I mean, I love that you're sharing that with us, because that's something that I think everybody can take and really learn from, and I myself included. Taking these risks that have not always worked out. And yeah, a lot of it is because I was stubborn. I have a little bit of a stubborn streak, and I'm going to tell you, I'll admit to you that mine would be stubborn in feeling like what I was doing was the way and there was not another way to do it. And that stubbornness and not allowing myself to open my eyes and especially when because I hire a team of people, right? And trying to do everything myself, thinking I was the only person that could do it, being that, kind of a person, that control freak, which I am. And that held me back. That held me back. It was scary to me I was scared that if I didn't control it myself, that I would lose control and that I wouldn't be able to grow the business. But quite the opposite happened after all that, when I allowed myself to be open to collaborating and working with others. And it's one of the reasons why I love to collaborate with you, Tom, because there's so much power in collaboration together. And that is one of the bases for, when you want to run a strong business. I'll never forget Gary Vaynerchuk said, hire people who are better than you to do those things. And don't be afraid of that. Don't be scared of that, because and treat them right, because that's going to help you all grow and move forward.
Absolutely. Surround yourself with smart people who disagree with you is another mantra that I've heard over the years. And it's really, really true.
Yeah. I love it. Tom, thank you so much. I think that last nugget was the best of all out of this episode. I really loved talking with you in these podcasts. So thanks again. I'm going to give a great big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like real bosses. Find out more at ipdtl.com. And let me say that more clearly, because I do voiceover for a living. You can find out more at ipdtl.com. Bosses, have an amazing week, and we'll see you next week.